Right. So you already know this about me, but my mission is to make the world a better place by sharing brain health and especially with moms. Because I think that moms are the real ones who rule the world. And they have the hardest jobs and the most important jobs in the world. And it comes with a deep sense of obligation and loads of expectation, some that we put on ourselves and some that comes from others. But we don't live in a perfect world, and we don't have unlimited time or unlimited resources. So we don't always meet those expectations, and this can lead to feelings of guilt. And I know that I encounter this every day of my life. And I've used these tools that I've learned through the coaching program and through Dr. Amen. And so I want to share those skills and tools that have helped me. But I am curious for you, how does mom guilt, if you're able to unmute, how does mom guilt show up to you? For you, it might be different than what I experience.
That's a good question, Jenny. I think part of my guilt comes from me thinking that I just have to always be there, always be involved, always make sure they're safe and situated. So I feel as if it's just my duty. I just feel like it's a duty. And if I'm not able to be present or provide something as I feel like I should, then it just kind of makes me feel like, you it's your duty. You have to do this.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And to always be there, like that is an impossible duty that we put on ourselves if you think about
Right,
it, right?
right,
Yeah.
right.
And so it's just so easy because we do feel like it's our duty. And I would even say that it's how our brains are wired. So, what are your thoughts on like our brains are wired to protect our young?
hmm Yeah, I think it's just intrinsic. I think that's just part of the territory when you are a mom. And I always use this example. Think about the bear, the mama bear. She's not going to let anybody threaten her cubs. The mama bear just comes out, and these cubs were given to me, and I take my role seriously. I'm not going to just give them over to any and everything, but I'm going to go to the ends of the world just to ensure their safety, their support, all of it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love that. The mama bear. That's that's exactly right. So it's just like our nature to protect our young and to think and feel like this. Um, so it's a very normal thing, and I think everyone really experiences like this feeling of guilt because the expectations are that we're always there and that we're always present, and that's not like our reality.
hmm
And I'm curious, what do you think shapes your expectations the most? Do you think it is that natural instinct or maybe like how you were wired or I mean raised?
I think what shapes my wiring is I just want to do things um, better. I reference my childhood. So I think that's part of it where I'm just trying to exceed my childhood. I'm just trying to give them the best that the world has to offer. I just want to surround them with beauty and just give my best.
Yeah. Do you think that are you impacted by like social media at all?
I don't think so. I mean, I think no, I don't. I think also, Jenny, I'll just be transparent because we were on a very unusual trajectory because we were a homeschooling family. And I'll just even be more candid because we were a Black homeschool family. I mean, we were considered an anomaly. So I just received a lot of uh, ridicule and scrutiny because it was just so different. And so part of that was, well, okay, well, you guys are questioning what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you.
Oh
So, I
yeah.
mean, I know that's not healthy either, but I do know that was part of it. I felt like, okay, I have to not prove anything, but I have to silence all of these voices who are just kind of doubting what I'm doing. And I'm not even, I'm not doing it for you, but I don't know, just that weird dynamic of just saying I have to show up 100% because it's all on me.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And you probably took a healthier avenue than like guilt or like self-doubt, right? Like you were confident in what you were doing. Yeah, it's unfortunate that like others influence like based on their judgment what we do and what we think
Yeah.
and feel.
Yeah.
And it's definitely uh, a factor
Yeah.
in social and cultural norms. So yeah, you like veered off of the normal path here. So
And Jean, I think the word that you use, judgment, I think that's a key word. Maybe the judgment of others is what drives us moms to just try to do it all.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is so sad. And I also think it's like our primitive like makeup because we want to be in connection with others. Like I think we're designed to live with others. And when we have feelings of being judged or being different, I think that
Mm-hmm.
triggers discomfort in the brain
Mm.
too. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
definitely. Yeah, so for me, I think like that is kind of where mom guilt comes from. It's like that discomfort in the brain of
Mm-hmm.
I think there's two different things that I like to think of it. One is like and there's an error in if we think that we should always be there. We have
Mm-hmm.
this duty to be present and
Mm-hmm.
to protect. And when we can't achieve that, then our brain detects like an error. We're not doing what we should be doing.
Right.
Um, and then I also think there's the disconnection part too, um, which is like a different feeling and reaction in the brain when you might feel guilt if you're not connecting with your children or
Mm-hmm.
your family. And so there's a couple of different things that can kind of drive what I call mom guilt.
Mm-hmm.
So I have this formula. I call it the Love Your Brain formula. And what I like about it is that it can be used in any situation. And so I'd like to walk through that formula in its three steps on mom guilt. And the first step is to love your brain. And this is really identifying that the reaction and experience that you have is coming from your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of name it to tame it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's a very common um, phrase in like psychology and self-help strategies.
Mm-hmm.
When you do that, you're actually um, activating your prefrontal cortex, which is your logical brain, and that helps
Mm-hmm.
to quiet your emotional brain. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes if you're like struggling with something, just identifying like oh, I'm experiencing anxiety because of this fear, or I'm experiencing this guilt because I think I should always be there and I'm not. Sometimes just having that awareness kind of like steps you out of the struggle. Have you ever experienced that?
Um, I think so, Jenny. But yes, just being able to take a moment and just kind of pinpoint the source of the discomfort. Like why am I feeling this way right now? Like what's going on?
Hmm. Yeah, it's super helpful. Um, and two, when you identify what's going on, then you're aware to take like action in the direction to help relieve what's going on. And
Hmm.
so really, this is step one. Without it, if you're not aware of what's going on, then it's going to be really hard to help yourself.
Right. Right.
And then step two is optimize your brain. And I am really into the brain health world, and I think it would be a disservice for me not to address that the brain is a physical organ. And I know that
Mm-hmm.
sounds kind of wild, but really we don't think about this enough. And we
Right.
weren't taught to think like this.
Right, right, right.
Yeah, and it responds to physical things. So when I teach this formula and coach this formula, I like to apply it as like an action. So, like, what physical things can you do to help your brain? And sometimes um, you can just recognize, like, maybe you didn't get enough sleep, or
Yes.
yeah, or maybe you're PMSing, and that can be a real, like,
Yes.
factor in how you're handling your emotions, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and just recognizing that um, can help too. And it gives you more self-love too, because you're aware that like I am not this feeling. It's it's just a reaction in my brain.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. That is so key, Jenny, and I appreciate you bringing that up, especially with the nights that you don't sleep as soundly, and then the next day you're just kind of off, and it just seems like, I mean, even today I was just kind of, uh, I don't want to say edgy, but I just felt I didn't feel at I didn't feel settled. So I started questioning, okay, what's going on? Okay, I didn't get as much sleep. And then three of my college aged children who are not normally in the house were in the house. So I was just dealing with a lot of extra energy. I mean, nothing malicious. I mean, just they were there. They like to stay up. And I had to get up early. So I was just going through, okay, so this is probably part of the reason why I'm just kind of feeling off.
Yeah, yeah. And to have that sense of awareness too, like can you see how you could step out of your struggle and like see it from a
Mhm.
different view?
Yeah, 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 that is so key.
Yeah. So step two, optimize your brain. And the key to that is to get curious. Like,
Mhm.
is there something going on physically with my brain that I might need to address to help my situation? Sometimes it's not obvious, but there are, it's so amazing that the brain is always listening. That's what Dr. I think
Mm.
he actually has a book that's titled The Brain is Always Listening. And the brain is taking in like everything that you hear from others, everything that you think, everything that you do. And this is really beautiful because when you are struggling, the brain is listening and you can apply specific strategies to help like boost your moods. So
Mhm.
for this example, if we're struggling with maybe like disconnection. Maybe we think we always need to be there, and maybe your kids are off at college and you're not able to be there. Connection is in the limbic system, and one of the
Okay.
key chemicals and neurotransmitters um, is oxytocin. Have you heard of that
Mhm.
before?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, and you might have heard it like breastfeeding boosts oxytocin and things like that. So we can do physical actions that will boost oxytocin that can help reduce the discomfort in our brain when we feel disconnected.
Mhm.
So some of the things could be like giving a hug.
Okay.
If you're away from your children, you could give them a call.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, can you think of anything else that might be like good connection boosting activities?
Um, I like how you said give them a call, give them a hug, maybe send a thinking of you text or I love you text. Um, that's the only thing that comes to mind right now.
Yeah, yeah, those are great. And acts of kindness towards others, um, even if it's not towards like the child that you're missing,
Mhm.
um, praying, you can like feel connection to God.
Mhm.
Yep. So that's step two is to optimize the physical brain. And then step three is to empower your thoughts. And This one I really like because you can read self-help books and you can learn all of these things like boundaries and values, and they're super great and helpful, but they're kind of hard to apply.
Mm-hmm.
So what I like about this formula is it like calls you to apply these tools that you already know. And so I hopefully have enough time, but I'd like to go over three tools. I teach six in my coaching program, and they're tools that you're familiar with from Diana. The first is values. And this is something that comes up in like almost every self-help book. Have you noticed that?
Um, Valuing, like, what are your core values?
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And honestly, when I read it in Dr. Amen's books, I did not, he has a worksheet. He calls it the one-page miracle, and he says he makes all of his patients do it. And I did not do it the first two books that I read from him. And it wasn't until I became the licensed brain health trainer that I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to teach this, I should do this. And I
Mm-hmm.
really found the worksheet to be helpful and like eye-opening when you really understand your values and
Mm-hmm.
who you want to be and those qualities that you want to live from. They can really serve as like a compass. And especially when it comes to guilt, because most of the time when you feel guilty, it's because you're not behaving towards one of your values.
Oh, okay. I see the connection. Okay.
Yeah, and what's super helpful is like now that you kind of, if you see the connection and you see, and it goes along with like what you were saying, you want to always be there, you want to be present for your children, and that's a value. And
Mm.
behavior is not aligned, uh, the brain detects an error.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that produces the guilt.
Yes,
Okay. Okay.
yes.
Makes sense.
And knowing this, you can then use your values to like guide your next step. So if you recognize I feel guilty because I'm not present, then you can maybe think of things, well, what can I do to be present
Mm-hmm.
and kind of bridge the gap? But that sometimes you'll have conflicting values. So, like, okay, so you were a stay-at-home mom. Did you have any, because my example would be like
Mm-hmm.
working and not being present with the kids. Did you have any conflicting values um, with being a stay-at-home mom where you really had to do specific things that had made you give up other things?
Uh, Let me see. I feel like maybe looking back, maybe I overcompensated because, like I said, we were um, in a very novel position being a homeschooling family. So I feel like maybe I was just always just trying to ensure them that they were normal and that they were important. Um, so maybe I felt guilty about us just being in the position that we were in. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I'm sure being different, if you do value like community and connection, and maybe being different kind of strayed from that value, I could see that. Um,
Yes, Jenny. Yes, that's you hit it. You hit it right on the head because I do value community. I do value community and connection, which was very difficult to find early on in our homeschooling journey. So perhaps that linked that was a link to the guilt that I was feeling because I was desiring connection, but I felt like there was no place where we belonged. So that's interesting that you brought that up.
yeah, and just being aware of that and knowing like sometimes your values will conflict. And
Mm-hmm.
you can't always serve both.
Mm.
Yeah, and for moms too, you may value being healthy and like eating right and exercising, but I bet it was really hard for you to find time to do that when you're, teaching school with your kids and
Right.
yeah, and you might feel guilty if you aren't like living to your values of how you want to be health wise. There's discomfort there.
Right, that's interesting, Jenny, because I also what just came to mind is this dynamic where you feel guilty because you're not aligning to your values. But then if I do break away and find time to honor my value of exercising, then I feel guilty because I'm thinking that I'm forsaking the children because there's another value. I value their development. I value supporting them. So is that an example of conflicting values?
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Okay.
Yes, I get that. So what is helpful is now that you know this and you know I have two values, then you can kind of get creative and think like, what can I do to honor both values and
Mm-hmm.
and really like I'm gonna call it a balance, but it doesn't have to be balanced. Um, but to put like context to it. So I try to go to yoga on Mondays and
Mm-hmm.
I still like skip because I feel guilty about not being home.
Right, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And but it takes when the days that I don't skip, I really feel so much better. And I do recognize that by keeping my value of exercise, that I really do show up better for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And to recognize that, like to be balanced in different values, and not think of it as giving less than to another value, but like you can do it all and
Mm-hmm.
you show up better too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I really am a fan of values. Um, and I know that Diana does teach this briefly in her course. And in the mind shift tool, um, I like to apply it here, like just the same. Like, okay, well, you're feeling this. Could it be because your behaviors are conflicting with your values? And then it kind of gives a direction on on what to do next.
Yeah, yeah, that's good.
Yep. The next tool that I like is boundaries. And I really like to think of it as a tool. And when it comes to like mom guilt, it can, we can definitely overstep the us versus them.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely find that in myself. So, was it last week or the week before? My daughter got a note home from school that she needs to take remediation for her numbers.
Okay.
And I immediately felt guilty. And I was really taking on like her responsibility as
Mm-hmm.
my own. And that's a small example, but I think it can be applied for a lot of things. Um, we we take our children's struggles and we make them our own.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so it helps to know like I can't do her homework for her. Well,
Right.
she's in kindergarten, so she doesn't have that much homework, but like I can't learn for her. Um,
Right.
there are things I can do, and and so the best thing about boundaries is once you distinguish what is you and what is not you, what's your responsibility, what is their responsibility, then you can focus on what's in your control.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can do that, it's more concrete and like if you think about how you feel when you're in control of what you can do versus how you feel when you are trying to control others. Let's see, did I say that okay? So when you try to control others and you can't. So I can't control how much effort she puts in at school, or I can't control if she wants to learn. Um, and that's really hard to accept. But what I can control is what I do. And maybe I say, hey, we're going to do your homework before we eat dinner. And I force the education. And that's kind of me setting my own boundary. And
Mhm.
so it takes it into your control. Um,
Yeah, Jill, that's a good point. And another thought that came to mind was when you were saying we tend to take upon our children's struggles. I wonder if a part of that is where we feel as if we have failed, if they are not, if they're underperforming, or I don't know, if they just have a hurdle or an obstacle to push through some kind of way, it we blame ourselves for whatever is lacking, and maybe that's also where the guilt comes from, where we're thinking that we're failing them as a mom.
yes, yes, definitely. Yeah, we put what they do and their success on really like who we are and how well we've done as a
Mhm.
mom.
Right, right,
Yeah. Yeah. And so if you think about boundaries as well, what is in your control and separate that you are responsible for them. And it's really, I think it's probably one of the hardest things to apply is mom and child, right? Because you
right,
really do feel responsible for them, but ultimately you're not. Like,
right,
yeah, they're their own person. Even when they're little, you can't control them.
right, right.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good example. And then the last tool is the loving what is, and by Byron Katie. So this is radical acceptance.
Hmm.
And we suffer when we do not accept reality. So
Hmm.
if our children are struggling and we think they should be doing better or we should have done something different, those thoughts are triggering guilt. Key in on the word should triggers guilt, but it's also not accepting the reality. It's thinking they
Uh-huh.
should be different than they are. And I really liked Byron Katie's book, Loving What Is. I thought it was super powerful. And it's really hard, but it's like the spilt milk analogy.
Yeah,
Like, no use crying over spilt milk. And really, if you think of that as a tool to apply when you're struggling, it can really kind of help you come out of some of your struggles if you're spiraling with thought.
right, right.
Yeah. So those are the three tools, the values, the boundaries, and radical acceptance. Did you have any other thoughts or questions or examples?
Um, I appreciate what you just highlighted, that whenever we use should, that automatically produces guilt because we are not embracing reality. And we have to learn how to, like you said, have radical acceptance, which is something that we're not taught,
Mhm.
um, but something that we can put to practice, especially as we're learning how to love our brains.
Yes. Yes, definitely. And this does take practice. And
Mhm.
even though it's three steps, what I've found is that you don't always need all three. And so what I do with my coaching clients is they'll come with a situation and we'll walk through all three. And
Mhm.
the goal is that when they do have a challenge, if they can at least focus on one, they can overcome like what they're going through on their own.
Yeah.
And I use this for my own like challenges. Um, and I will really just go through the steps. I'm like, okay, step one, like what is my brain doing? And identify this is just a reaction. Um,
Mhm.
And then step two, is there anything physical that is making me struggle more than most days? Or
Mhm.
yeah, is there anything physical to do to help me get out of this funk? And then step three is really where a lot of the time is spent, is because it's hard to get off of thoughts sometimes. So it helps to work through them with the different tools.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that, Jenny. And I was going to ask, are you able to send the values worksheet that you mentioned?
Yes, yes, I can send that to you. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I think that would be helpful because um that was also a highlight, just understanding the connection between your values and your guilt. And then if you spend time becoming aware of your values, then you can start working on those feelings of guilt.
Yes. Yes. So the values worksheet, it has two columns. It has one is for the values and one is for behaviors. So it gives you an opportunity to reflect like what behaviors do I like need to do to align with these values?
Mhm.
And when I did it for the first time, it was very clear to me that I was not being the wife that I wanted to be.
Mhm.
And so it's definitely a good exercise. So I like to say it's like an awareness tool, not a judgment tool.
Okay.
Yeah, so use it as an awareness, and it's broken down a little bit more about it. So when you see it, you're familiar with it. Dr. Amen talks about brain health with four circles.
Mhm.
Um, there's the biological, the psychological, which is like your mind and your thoughts, the spiritual and social.
Mhm.
So the worksheet is broken down into like his four categories.
Okay. Nice. I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. I will send that over to you via email.
Okay.
Well, I hope that this was helpful for you.
Jenny, it was. I'm so grateful that I was able to hop on.